ATMAs, Scotland's largest travel agency and sponsors of Killie, offer top quality holidays with a full range of travel services aimed at providing the ultimate holiday experience. For quality and service, ATMAs are in a league of their own.
Everything a travel agent should be.
Has gone mad, he's running onto the field.
Tynecastle Park, Edinburgh, April the 24th, 1965. Kilmarnock champions of Scotland, the highest moment of all in 125 roller coaster years. You wonder what they would have made of this vision of the future back in 1869. Queen Victoria is on the throne, and in Kilmarnock, John Wallace is persuading the local cricketers to turn their attentions to the new winter sport of football. It was history in the making. The first general meeting in, of all places, a Temperance Hotel. Maybe they didn't anticipate the champagne days ahead. Kilmarnock's first training session, if training was the word, was here on Barbados Green, now the Howard Park. But football then was a cross between marathon running and all-in wrestling. Pitches 200 by 100 yards and lawful to hold a player with the ball. Maybe we can understand now why the home in which they eventually settled was christened Rugby Park. But the catalyst in the full conversion to football was the birth of the Scottish Cup. The club accepted Queen's Park's invitation to subscribe £1 to buy the trophy. And so the finger of fate decreed that Killie, playing in Oxford Blue, would lose 2-0 to Renton in the first ever Scottish Cup tie. Creativity was a byword in those days. Dan Gilmour on the left and John Wallace instigated the Ayrshire Cup, certainly one of the most ornate trophies in the football world. It was prestigious too then, held in the kind of esteem normally reserved for the county's most lauded legends. 1879, the earliest known team picture, and Killie coming out of the dark ages. This side played local rivals Portland in a game billed as a grand match under electric lights. It was 75 years before Killie played under floodlights again. Still, there was brilliance on the park. The first trophy won, Hereford beaten in the Ayrshire Cup final. And the committee posed for the obligatory celebration picture. But winning was becoming a habit. 1891, champions of Ayrshire. By now the Scottish League was up and running without Kilmarnock. But Jockey Johnston played for Scotland in Rugby Park's first ever international, Killie's early star in stripes. An attendance of 12,000 persuaded the club to turn professional. Professionalism worked, and then some. James Bummer Campbell, and history insists that was his nickname, scored 8 times in a record 13-2 victory. It was Saltcoats Vicks who were hammered on the way to ultimate glory in the Scottish Qualifying Cup, where Motherwell were dismantled 4-1 in the final. And the seal of approval continued. In 1898, Killie won the Second Division Championship and arrived at Hampden for their first Scottish Cup final. Sadly, these men lost 2-0 to Rangers, but a year later the Second Division was won again, and this time Killie were accepted into Division 1. The last months of the old century heralded arrival into the top flight at long last. Scottish Cup holder Celtic hanselled the occasion, and Kilmarnock managed a creditable 2-2 draw. But ultimately the going became too tough, and by 1906 a share flotation was required to inject much needed capital. Suddenly though, sponsorship was born. King Taylors offered an overcoats for goals deal, and the players responded, especially Andy Cunningham. 18 goals that season, he could have used a sponsored wardrobe. The end of the Great War marked the celebration of the club's golden anniversary, and the partygoers could reflect on some golden days and glittering stars of a bygone age. Sandy Higgins, the first man to play for Scotland. Robert Russell, nicknamed the Cutler. J.Q. Macpherson, trainer of Kilmarnock, Scotland and England. Bob Templeton, the Stanley Matthews of his day. Willie Killie, the record scorer. And Charles Smith, player and chairman and the club's first historian. As it happens, recorders of Kilmarnock's history were heading for a busy time. April the 17th, 1920, and 95,000 pack into Hampden to see Killie Short and J.R. Smith score in a 3-2 win over Albion Rovers in the Scottish Cup final. The club name was there, inscribed among those who had blazed the trail for the Scottish game, and 9 years later Kilmarnock won the Cup again. April the 6th, 1929, and Captain Matty Smith shakes hands with Rangers' Tommy Muirhead, with 114,708 witnessing the occasion. Rangers were alleged to be invincible and were 16 points clear in the championship race, but it was Kilmarnock goalkeeper Sam Climie who was unbeatable. He saved a first-half penalty from Tommy Craig. Killie were on the way. Goals from John Aitken and Jimmy Williamson secured the win, but for Matty Smith, it was the second win in a decade. Son Bill is suitably proud of his father's achievements.
He's the only player, Kilmarnock player, ever to win 2 medals with Kilmarnock, and nobody else in the club has received 2 Scottish Cup medals. So in that respect, I'm very proud of this medal. Proud of them both, but especially the second one he got. He was the boy in the 1919 team, and he was a veteran in the captain in the 1929 team. I think it was Sam Climie that said it, that my dad had told them, hold them out to half-time, boys, and we'll win. And then, as you know, they got the penalty, and Sam Climie saved the penalty, which was put them in the right road, and they went on and scored another goal. And that was the climax, 2-0 against Rangers. And they'd also, in that particular year, they'd beaten Celtic in the semi-final, which was quite an achievement for a provincial team at any time, but in these days, to beat Celtic in the semi and Rangers in the final was, to my mind, was a fantastic feat.
The treasure chest of memories was growing, but by now the founder fathers must have been wondering why they had bothered holding the first meeting in a temperance hotel.
I used to hear my dad telling the story about the Kilmarnock trainer always moaning about the amount of whiskey that Kilmarnock Football Club went through, and it was not for drinking. They seemingly put it in their boots to keep their feet warm during the cold winter days. You can believe that, I believe that not, but that was the story as I heard it anyway.
Overseas beckoned for the first time when the club toured North America on a 16-match trip, which brought 11 victories. 2 years later, they were back at Hampden for the third time in a dozen years, but this time there was eventual disappointment. The first game against Rangers finished 1-1, but Kilmarnock lost the replay 3-0. Meanwhile, Joe Niblo, Killie's most capped player, was sold to Aston Villa for a then record fee of £1,875. Also on the way out was manager Hugh Spence, replaced by Celtic legend Jimmy McGrory. But in his first game in charge, Kilmarnock were thrashed 8-0 at Celtic Park. Revenge was sweet. Killie drew Celts in the third round of the Scottish Cup, and even the bookies quoted the Glasgow Giants out of sight, with Killie at an unbelievable 10-1 against. But, as the Sunday Post of the day reported, Kilmarnock won 2-1 and then beat Ayr United and Rangers to arrive in another final, this time against East Fife. The first game finished 1 each, with the second division team from Methil opening the scoring. Dougie McAvoy equalised, but again Kilmarnock lost out in a replay. East Fife won 4-2 in extra time, with Kilmarnock's consolation that they just beat relegation. During the Second World War, Rugby Park was requisitioned by the government as a fuel dump for the army, and it remained that way until the end of the strife. Football action resumed in 45-46, but Killie couldn't avoid more upheaval Jimmy McGrory left to rejoin Celtic. Relegation followed and managers came and went before Malcolm MacDonald brought a period of stability from 1950. Indeed, in 1952, with his team still in the second division, he engineered a road to a League Cup final against Dundee, with Rangers conquered en route. And 1 year later, Killie were back in the big time.
They were a part-time team at that time, and what I remember about it, as I say, we had to train 2 nights a week, and I worked in the mines at the time. And I had to come from, well, it was plain where I worked, 2:30, finished there, back to my father's in Larbert, trained for there, down here, and that's what I remember about Kilmarnock Football Club in these days. You know, they were part-time.
Who were the faces around about the club then?
Oh, you're talking about Bob Thine, Middlemiss, Mays, Harvey, Curlett, you know, all terrific players. I mean, great players.
Beattie wasn't in the first team when Killie made the 1957 Scottish Cup semi-final against Celtic.
Beattie saves, but Jerry Mays follows up and scores. Across from Curlett, and Mays heads a beauty. A lightning attack, and that finds the empty goal.
That 3-1 victory set up a final against Falkirk. The replay was Malcolm MacDonald's last game as manager before joining Brentford.
Out to the Falkirk right wing, where Tommy Murray collects it. He centres, and Merchant scores. Falkirk won ahead, but goalie Slater only just stops the Killies from equalising a few minutes before half-time. From a corner, Killie's Davy Curlett brings the crowd to their feet with the equaliser. So it has to be extra time. The ball's flicked across to Douglas Moran. He runs through, and yes, that's it.
3 years later, another semi-final, Clyde this time.
And after 30 minutes from an attack on the right, centre-forward Kerr had the ball in the net. Stimulated by being a goal up, Kilmarnock raided Clyde territory again. Outside left Muir, unmarked, got goal number 2.
And so to Killie's 7th Scottish Cup final, their first under Willie Waddle. But yet again, the Hampden appearance brought that old, familiar, agonising feeling of a second prize.
Again Rangers attacked. Miller headed in. Stevenson's free kick found Miller. Another goal for Rangers. Now Kilmarnock counter-attacked. With a bit of good fortune, they might have scored. But mights don't count in football.
Although they were runners-up in League and Cup, Killie weren't considered good enough for Europe, and instead the Scottish League sent them packing to America. They were there for an astonishing 5.5 weeks and eventually lost the tournament final to Bangu of Brazil. But it wasn't just the boys from Brazil who were too hot for Killie.
The temperature was something like 90 odd degrees. The humidity was about 95%, something like that. In fact, I remember the players coming off at half-time and just walking straight into a shower, fully clothed, and then got a change of strip. But as I say, it was a tremendous experience, going back to what I'd said earlier on. The fact that we'd gone full-time the year before, the fact that we were together, 20 players together for 5.5 weeks, triggered off. And we did a lot of good PR work. Willie Waddle and Bill Cox got on very well together. We did things like soccer clinics and this kind of thing in various colleges around New York. And so much so that whilst we hadn't won the competition, we were invited back in 1961.
Back home, the hard work on the training pitch was paying off.
I would back these players against any of the players that are going now. I would, honestly. I mean, they were terrific and fit. I mean, well, Walter McRae. I used to call him a few names anyway,
A wee bit kind of, shall we say, indiscipline. Training methods were a wee bit the old-fashioned. It was a case of part-time, right, let's do 6 laps a night, boys. That would maybe be, one of the trainers would say that. I heard about this afterwards. And of course, in these days, there were no lights. So, they used to run round a darkened track out there. Some were known to secrete a packet of fags and a wee box of matches in their pants and would disappear into the terracing for a couple of draws, and then come flashing past the trainer. So that kind of thing. So I had my work cut out.
And so to the most astonishing season in the club's history. The traditional hoops were no more, and stripes were now the high fashion. Killie were in the Fair Cities Cup. The first round draw brought them European giants Eintracht Frankfurt and a 3-0 first leg defeat in Germany, the club's first European tie. What happened next was one of the most remarkable stories in the entire history of the Scottish game.
And safely back to the side. An indication here of how slippy the ball is. Incidentally, there are 4 members of the Eintracht team still playing who played against Real Madrid. But here's the inside left going through, a great shot, and it's a magnificent goal! A magnificent goal by Huberts, the inside left from all of 25 yards with little more than 1 minute gone. 12 minutes played. Killie still 1-0 down and of course 4-0 down on aggregate. Snedden. McAnally. Tried a short one, off an arm there, but he's not given it, he's given a goal. Scored by Ronnie Hamilton. Quite a sensational goal there by the centre forward after 12 minutes. That will give great encouragement to Kilmarnock. I thought that the centre half definitely handled the ball, it might have been inside the box, but the referee allowed play to proceed and Ronnie Hamilton snapped up that pass from McAnally to make the score Eintracht 1, Kilmarnock 1. King, well into the German half. McAnally, out to McLean. A low cross, missed here, and the centre forward. A tremendous goal there. And the scorer, Brian McElroy, outside left. Brian McElroy, thunderous applause for that goal in the 16th minute. Free to Killie, just inside the Eintracht half. 5 minutes gone on the second half. Rory with the kick, even left back McFadzean's up for it. And he's in position, and he's headed it into the net! A sensational third goal for Kilmarnock, headed into the net by left back Jim McFadzean. After 5 minutes of the second half, and listen to the crowd roar. Germans are clearly rattled now. King. Huberts. Blocked by McAnally. Good Hereward forward from McGrory. Beattie. Nice bit of play by Frank Beattie, trying a left foot shot. A great effort! A great effort, and just turned over the crossbar there by goalkeeper Loy. McFadzean. Inside. McElroy, dangerous one. And there's McAnally with a 4th goal for Kilmarnock with 10 minutes left for play. Little wonder the field is being invaded here at Rugby Park with hundreds of delighted boys. Kilmarnock have done what seemed almost impossible. They've pulled back a 3-goal deficit, and there's still 8 or 9 minutes left for play, giving them a tremendous incentive to even go on and put Eintracht out of the Mercedes Cup. Right back, King to take it. Right on target. Krause back defending. Long one, rather like icing the puck in desperation. Anything to keep those eager Kilmarnock forwards away from goalkeeper Loy. Hamilton. Back to McLean. A low one. And hit the upright. A tremendous shot. There's McFadzean. Hamilton. Back to King, out to McLean again. What a climax! Another great cross. Throw to Killie, 4 minutes left for play. And the game on aggregate all tied up at 4 goals each. Murray, McAnally, and Hamilton. Pulled down there. Referees awarded it just a foot or so outside the penalty area. It was a touch and go one. Looks as though Snedden may try a chip, or is it to be King? Snedden, a short one, and it's a goal! All the boys in Ayrshire are swarming onto Rugby Park. That was a short free kick from Davy Snedden, hit into goal, and it touched the defender and caught goalkeeper Loy going the wrong way. And that makes it, with only 2 minutes to go, Kilmarnock 5, Eintracht 1, and on aggregate, Kilmarnock 5, Eintracht 4. Referee Adair taking his watch out now to look at it. And there is the final whistle, with Kilmarnock victors by 5 goals to 1 in the Spare Cities Cup tie, and on aggregate through to the next round by 5-4. Sporting handshakes by the players and a tremendous invasion of the pitch on this historic night on rain-swept Rugby Park.
And I remember it was an Irish referee, and somebody got injured at the time, and I think it was, I can't remember who it was, but anyway, I said to the referee, I said, how long is there to go for this time, you know? And he turned around and he says to me, never you worry about the time, son. He says, you've plenty of time to get another goal. And anyway, as I say, the game started again, and we scored about the last couple of minutes, you know. And the scenes that night were terrific.
You'll get great arguments between Kilmarnock supporters as to the most memorable game, but I think in balance I would be right in saying that the Eintracht game is the game that probably most people would remember, even above the title-winning game against Hearts. It was just such a special evening. I think the crowd was 16,000 that night, but it felt as if there was 160,000 in the ground. The crowd just seemed to sense from a very early stage that something special was taking place that night, and they were privileged to be there and be involved in it. And just everything, I think, went in our favour that night, apart from the fact that Germany scored, I think, the first 5 minutes, and that was them up 4-0. But as I say, it was just one of these one-off nights that just, we could have beaten MD, I think, that night with 3, 4, 5 goals.
Kilmarnock eventually lost to Everton, but the magic dust was still being sprinkled throughout the league campaign. Bertie Black's goal set up a last-day championship showdown against Hearts at Tynecastle. In these days, teams finishing level in points were separated by goal average, the goals scored being divided by the goals against. In short, a 2-0 victory would give Kilmarnock the title by .042 of a goal.
Much better Kilmarnock play. Still McAnally, McLean. It's a beautiful one. There's a goal! What a goal by Snedden, engineered by young McLean on the right wing. And so with 17 minutes still to play in this first half, Kilmarnock have got one of these very precious 2 goals that they're after. Well, if you'll pardon the cliche, the fat is certainly in the fire. With almost 60 minutes of playing time to go, and anything can happen. A beautifully engineered goal, worthy of a great game. Snedden again for Kilmarnock. Berry. Snedden. Bertie Black. Still Black. He's putting it forward to McElroy. And it's a goal! It's a goal by McElroy. Hamilton again. Gordon's in there. Watson clearing. McAnally. Well, I don't know how long this game's going to go on. It's played well overdue by me. A great save! Magnificent save by Ferguson. There is Willie Waddle. Right on he goes. There is Willie Waddle, and what a joyful man he must be. Fantastic scenes. Waddle's being hugged by supporters, by players. And if ever a man has gone out of Scottish football with a blaze of glory, it's Willie Waddle. Fantastic scenes at Tynecastle. One of the most magnificent fights by a team I've ever seen.
The only time I've seen him excited at the deal was when the final whistle went. 2.5 minutes after time. A wee story about that was Noddy McNeil was the assistant, and he was saying, what time is it? He says, oh, it's 5 minutes ago. Shut up, shut up. I don't want to know the time. But once the final whistle was supposed to go, he's not going to blow the whistle, not going to blow the whistle.
These are famous pictures of Willie coming onto the park.
Yeah, that's the most excited I've ever seen the man at any time. He was excited at the Eintracht match, but the only thing he did that night was come in and shook all our hands, and that was it.
He could motivate players, Waddle, you know, and he knew how to get the best out of players, and he got the best out of Kilmarnock players.
We came back and came through the town, and there was thousands and thousands of people. We started at the top and came right down to the Glencairn Square. And in fact, I saw my mum and dad. I couldn't speak to them because we were on the bus. And we lived in Barbados Road, which is just from between the square and here. So my wife was expecting Catherine Ann then. And I said to the boss, I said, let me off at Barbados Road, I'll get Rena and I'll come over. Right? So I gets off at Barbados Road, runs up the stair. I says, where's Rena? She's over at the park. So David had to run for Barbados Road, which is about half a mile from here. And I gets to the front gates and they're shut. So I said, oh, what did I do? So there's a big crowd wanting to get in. So I'm pushing my way forward. And I says, you got to let me in. It's a sergeant at the gate. He says, nobody getting in, son. I says, you not kidding me? And he looks down and he says, oh, it's you, David. How would you go?
And so the league flag flew proudly over Rugby Park as Malcolm MacDonald returned as manager. As champions, Europe beckoned again, and there were more unforgettable nights. Mighty Real Madrid were held 2-2 at Rugby Park, and the club reached the semi-final of the Fair Cities Cup before losing out to Leeds United. In turn, Walter McRae was promoted from trainer to manager to replace Malcolm MacDonald, and was in charge for the centenary game against Eintracht. The dawn of the 70s saw another semi-final and another foray into Europe, but the first indications of a looming depression were showing. Part-time football, and then in 1973, relegation. But in the lower division under Willie Fernie, Killie thrived. Record goals, record points, and another record, Paper Roses.
In the 70s, it will come to a bad transition period then. We were going from full-time to part-time football, which tended the club was on a wee bit of a downer. So for us to get promotion that year and that, it gives a great lift.
And as the good times rolled again, the crowds came flocking back.
When I came here at first, there was a sheep was the mascot here, and the sheep was called Angus, and I was coming here to training for days and days, and the players were always talking about they were going round to Angus's house for a cup of tea with Angus, and I couldn't believe this, that a sheep had its own wee room and could have a tea with the boys. And I was here for about 4 or 5 months before I found out the groundsman was also called Angus. So I found out then that the sheep wasn't as clever as I really thought, but it was a great mascot nevertheless.
Yes, Smith. Crowbin's going to let fly. Once again, the crowded penalty area. And there's a great shot for a goal.
we really were building a good young side. I mean, the average age of the team at that time, as I said, must have been about 21, 22, with George Maxwell, Brian Rodman, who were older, but still good players. And you know, the team really was very young, but I think it was always going to be a fact that they were going to sell people to make money. The club were always, you know, this position of being desperate for money, and it was always reckoned that most of us would be sold out, and we were within about 2 or 3 years. Most of us were gone.
One of my great Kilmarnock heroes was Big Derek McDicken. Big D, as he was known. I mean, his very presence on the field was fearsome. That was before he took his teeth out as well. He was a formidable character. That was in about the 80s. I think he played about 150 games for Kilmarnock. Scored. Really, that's about it. Him and Paul Clark at that time was a really terrific defence. I mean, you imagine that guy running at you, you know. That's a big D. Big D. Davy Provan. That's right. Davy Provan. I don't think he's got as much hair now. Anyway, Concord knows, for a start, Big Sean. Sean McSkimming. This is a trick question. What is this? You've got to guess, folks. What is this? That is Bobby Geddes at a corner. Nowhere.
But in truth, Bobby Geddes has always been a big draw for the Killie fans. Another instalment in a fantastic dynasty of goalkeepers at Rugby Park.
The advantage was that they could pick the right people, you know, and then train them up. I know the training-wise, I think it helped a lot as well. I can remember lots of winter's nights round the back there in the training ground with Jock Murdoch, and he really installed the tradition of goalkeepers into you, you know.
Alan McCulloch was the goalie in '79 as Killie fought to stay in the Premier Division.
That's a good looking ball as Doherty goes in. Good running by Doherty, a great chance. He's done it. 1-0. 14 minutes of the second half gone.
But the following year that battle was lost. McCulloch injured, Killie's pride badly hurt in an 8-1 thrashing by Rangers.
Well, obviously you were part-time at that time, and I worked locally as well, and you get your work and you're always getting reminded about it, you know. There's always somebody will come up and say to you, you know what football's like. Somebody always, you know, Rangers fans about the place. Fortunately not so many of them about Kilmarnock now.
But just when it seemed things couldn't get any worse, guess what? They did. Jim Clooney came and went as manager, and then under Eddie Morrison there was the Highland Massacre.
I just can't describe my emotions that day. I was so sick. I think I would have committed suicide if it wasn't for Bill Monroe. And unfortunately I was wearing a big black coat in the dugout that day. And I'd never ever wore that coat again. No, I swore I would never wear this coat. I was looking for so many excuses. So to this day, this coat's never been seen again. It was dumped, slung, threw away, never to be seen. And for the rest of the season I used to sit in the dugout without a coat. And this was picked up with a Kilmarnock Standard, the local paper. Why doesn't Eddie wear a coat in the dugout? So I told the story that I wore this coat in the dugout and I would never wear this coat again as long as I was Kilmarnock manager. And fortunately enough, a local tailor in Kilmarnock offered to give me a new coat to see me through the winter. So I was quite delighted to wear this new coat. So the following week I managed to get into the Kilmarnock Standard. I says I would love to sit in the dugout with a fitted kitchen, but nobody ever turned me up on that.
One shaft of light in the midst of all this was Alan Robertson, who broke Frank Beattie's appearance record and eventually chalked up an amazing 607 games for the club.
Frank Beattie had been one of the stalwarts at the time when really I was supporting the club, so I sort of knew how highly he was thought of at Kilmarnock, and to have got to the stage where I was actually going to have played more games, not necessarily better games, but certainly more games than him. It was certainly, I felt it was an honour and something which, you know, I was very pleased about.
And talking of loyalty, physiotherapist Hugh Allen is due a gold watch from club and country.
Well, yes, I've done, I think, 171 internationals in my time with the Scotland team.
What's it meant to you to represent Kilmarnock as a club with the international team?
Oh, I think I feel thrilled about it. It's always an exciting time for me, and it's a complete break from the usual routine.
And yet, over these years, not too many of the players have gone with you in international duty.
Sadly, no.
1988, and despite this early season win over Ayr, Killie are relegation bound. Eddie Morrison pays the price, and in comes Jim Fleeting attempting the salvage job. But despite a 6-0 win on the last day, Killie go down.
I just dropped out as well, and then you just could have heard a pin drop in the dressing. It was just unbelievable how saddened we were, you know, and just nobody could speak to each other and go. Every player was hanging with their head bowed down, you know. It was absolutely terrible. And then coming home, coming up from the game that night, and you're seeing blue and white scarves on the road, and that wasn't a pretty sight, you know, because obviously some of the fans had took it to heart. Kilmarnock going down into the second division and they'd thrown some of their scarves away and everything. Just terrible. And that whole close season of that year was just probably one of the worst periods in my football career.
The footballing outlook over Kilmarnock was far from encouraging. Those were dark days. But then a boardroom revolution took place, and after a long, hard struggle, new chairman Bobby Fleeting, his mother-in-law Laurel Chadwick, and Jim Moffat, the man who built the A-Team-A's travel empire, won the day. The chairman was astonished at what he found in the Rugby Park accounts.
When we arrived at the club, I was shocked, right? First of all, I was totally, completely taken by surprise at the income the club generated. Kilmarnock's income, the accounts for the year before the present board took over, showed a total income of something like £200,000. Now that was everything. And you know, I looked at this and I had a wee pub in Saltcoats at that time doing more than that. And I thought that's their forecast for the year for commercial income, that's scarves and hats and the likes of this, was 8,500. Now, this year, the accounts have just finished, in fact, for the year 92-93, and they're just about to be published. So the most recent accounts, which is the one I can talk about for 125th year, shows that the club's income has went from 200,000 to 2.2 million. I look back with some fondness at the forecast of 8,500 for the year's, you know, regalia sales, and we have an open day in August every year, and in that open day we take about £16,000 an hour through club sales. And I mean, we've got two shops now, but one of them in fact takes about £100,000 a year more than the total income of the club. Right, so you know, the change round from a financial point of view is absolutely remarkable.
1989 and the boardroom changes were followed by new faces on the park. Tommy Burns will never forget his Killie debut.
The whole thing was a real comedy of errors for getting picked up in the morning. And I can mind wee Jim McSherry being all excited, him and Jim Fleeting were going through, it's our first game and everything like that. The snow was there, and we're travelling, so we get just outside Rugby Park, just gets to Fenwick, the bus breaks down the first time. A 10-minute delay there, all out checking out, everything's fine, okay, we'll get it started up. So away goes on again, further up the road again, turns right to go the Eagles and Moors towards East Kilbride, breaks down again, well the Moors, another 5 or 6 minutes. Then we get into Eaglesham, and the wee bus driver gets out, the windscreen wiper breaks. So the wee guy's out trying to fix the windscreen wiper. So while he's doing trying to fix it, the windscreen wiper comes up, batters him in the heat. The wee guy gets up, he's staggers on the road, nearly gets knocked down with a motor just flying past him. The guy's got his cut eyeball like that, staggering about the road. I thought, bloody hell, what's going on here? This wee guy's going to get himself killed and no Eaglesham yet. And then we travels through. Again, bus breaks down just outside Coatbrig for the 4th time. And say, no, forget it. So we're actually trying to get through to Methot to get a pre-match meal. Big Jai says, forget it, just get in here, into this place, and just outside Coatbrig, in for something to eat. In there, we get to grub up. Send us another bus. The bus doesn't turn up. Couldn't get another bus. Everybody into taxis, some of the boys had motors, into the motor, so travels away through there. 10 to 3 we arrived for the game. Just walked in, put the strips on, walked right out onto the park. 11 years, no subs, the subs hadn't arrived yet. They arrived at 15 minutes past 3 while the game was going on. So we got out there and absolutely frozen, honestly. I mean, just the coldest day I can ever remember.
and I'm standing beside Tommy Burns, and I'm freezing, absolutely freezing. Never felt so cold in my life. And I looked, and there's Tommy Burns with a blue nose, so I thought, if that happens, anything can happen. He was ghastly looking. I thought, he's going to collapse, you know. And I can remember Dimey came out to me saying, so, I'm and I said, I know, I'm frozen and all. And eventually the referee came out of the dugout and says to Big Jai Fleet, and he says, you better get number 3 off. He says he's going to have, what is it? Hypothermia. See, that guy's got hypothermia. Davey actually looked as if he did have hypothermia. So Big Jai said to him, oh, Jai, we need to get him off. So he's saying to Jim McSherry, we need to get him off. And he said, actually, I'm thinking of calling the game off anyway. So wee McSherry was like, oh, you're right, hey, you're right, you better call it off. We're 2-1 down, 12 minutes to go. So the guys in these 5 dugout think, he's telling him to put the game off. The referee 2 minutes later, he blows for them, so there's a big stooshy, and they're all running, a big melee of bodies and everything like that. And I'm stoned, I said, I can't believe this day's happened, all these different things have happened today. So we're driving back through the road in the bus, back down to Kilmarnock after the game. We had a great laugh coming back down the road again. Wee McSherry kept us all going and everything like that. But I thought to myself, on the way back, I think, God, that's the first game. And that is the most eventful day in my football life.
But there were to be many others. On the last day, Killie needed to beat Cowdenbeath to secure promotion.
And a good chance from the set piece for Kilmarnock. The set Paul Flexney forward. Tommy Burns will take it. There's the header! Flexney for Kilmarnock.
1 up and seemingly coasting, but Killie lost a second-half goal to the Fifers. Would they make it? Captain Davy McKinnon picks up the dramatic story.
9 minutes to go, pushing, we get a penalty. The crowd go crazy, the players go crazy, and then they realise who's taking it, me. And I thought, dear, so I walked from the back right away up, silence. And the guys really gave me encouragement. Oh no, don't miss it, don't miss it. Because really the progression of the club was hinging in that decision. So I remember placing the ball in the spot. I looked at my family were in the enclosure, my wife, my kids, my friends, and I looked and they're all blindfolded. They're saying he's not going to score because they know what I'm like as a penalty taker. So I walked up to it and I thought, right, I'm going to hit it as hard as I can because if you place it, it's a nightmare if you miss. So about 2 or 3 steps back, blasted it as hard as I could, right into the centre of the goals, and it went in, you know, and the crowd erupted. And I think in the TV after it, you actually saw the expression in my face, the relief. But in actually looking at the replay from behind the goals, it missed Willie Lamont, the Cowdenbeath goalkeeper, by about an inch. So if it hit him in the head, it probably went in the other goals. But great times and great celebrations after that, and that sort of laid the base. I was quite thankful that I was part of the base for the club to move on in the progression that we did after that.
The champagne was flowing all right, but the fans had to be patient in terms of waiting for promotion into the genuine big time. Despite some big money buys and the occasional flirtation with success, Jim Fleeting couldn't complete the club's revival and eventually resigned after an eventful reign. 92-93, Tommy Burns in charge and things looking up. Killie always in contention for promotion, even if runaway leaders Wraith Rovers were out of sight from winter to spring. But in the Tennant Scottish Cup, it was a different story.
Wilson. And again, it's Sinclair's head to the rescue. Danger at the back post. And Killie take the lead! Williamson now operating on the left side. Killie switching wingers again. McCluskey, Cortes at the back post. And oh no, Sinclair couldn't hold it. McCluskey shot it in. And they finally got it. Williamson gets his second. And it's Kilmarnock now beginning to find tiring legs and passes. Great chance here, and there it is. Sinclair commits himself. It's drilled in off the line, but Kilmarnock have done it again.
Pass it through the gap for Burns, he's onside. It's a great chance for Kilmarnock. Tommy Burns, and it's bounced over the bar.
It was heartbreak in the next round against St Johnstone. Tommy Burns shot agonisingly over. Kilmarnock out. The manager's face told the whole story. In the championship race, the erratic form ran and ran, but there was a peppering of magical moments. Killie looked out of the promotion picture with 3 games to go, but then wins over Dumbarton and Clydebank set up a last day party. No change there then.
We needed a point to go up to the Premier Division, and luckily enough it was the players had been sort of more or less through it all before, you know, with the same sort of playing staff, and so we knew all the players here then knew what pressure was like, and I think the experience we had in the team brought us through in that game against Hamilton.
Tommy Burns knew the match had never been a classic, but there was much ado about nothing, because it was enough to take the club back up there where they belong. The team had taught the division how to play football, and now the fans showed the world how to party. Kilmarnock's return to the Premier Division coincided with the decision to relegate 3 of the 12 clubs. Clearly worrying days were ahead, but the team came off the blocks with a victory over Dundee. By the time they took on Rangers, they had 1 win out of 4, the League Cup was a memory, and the champions hadn't lost at Ibrox in 17 months.
It's a nice switch of play to Sean Skimming. Gary Stevens with them all the way, gets in the cross, the header, Kilmarnock take the lead, and it's Mark Roberts, the youngster, the 17-year-old. It's floated in by Durant, Presley's up there, and Stephen Presley scores for Rangers. Played almost 4 minutes of injury time, and it's Presley under pressure here now. Presley losing it to Brown, the 2 substitutes combining, and it's Williamson. And the former Rangers player has scored a quite incredible goal in 4 minutes of injury time. Bobby Williamson.
That triggered a great run of just 4 defeats in 22 games. Europe was beckoning. By Tennent's Scottish Cup time, Killie were paying the price of having a small squad, but the boys sure were up for the cup.
There's a great reverse ball. Gus McPherson popping up in the most unlikely of positions. McSkimming!
Ayr United, Morton and Dundee had fallen along the road to Hampden, and so in the semi-final, Rangers passed Kilmarnock's way again.
Short corner, Mitchell with Brown. A good ball in. There's Tom Black, he's the only goal for Kilmarnock. Over to the far side, Durant calling for the ball. Black trying to get unturned. There's Durant. Up goes Haitley, and the equaliser. Oh, yes, it's been given.
Rangers eventually won 2-1, but was that ball really over the line? You'll never convince Ray Montgomery, and no one was closer to the incident.
Well, truthfully, hand in heart, I can say that the ball wasn't over the line, you know, and I'll be sticking by that one. So
forever.
Forever.
But the cup heroics were at the cost of league consistency, and the team plummeted into the relegation area. But a win over Celtic helped the cause.
Still Williamson getting through. He's keeping the ball in play, get away from McNally initially. Now it's Brown. Lobbing the goalkeeper. Oh, that's magnificent.
There were just 2 games left in the season when Killie played Rangers in the last match at the old Rugby Park. Victory was vital.
There's Black again. He scored! Came so close a short time ago, but this time there's no mistake, and Kilmarnock are in the lead.
And so the Blue and White Army invaded Easter Road for the last game of the season, but by now the team were past masters in the art of cliffhanging. The requisite draw for Premier Division survival was delivered.
It was remarkable, just the change to think when we went to East Fife for that first game. I think there was maybe 600-700. And then the last time I played for Kilmarnock was at Easter Road against Hibs. And you're talking about having over 7,000 at an away game. And the group of players that I was fortunate enough to take over there, the incredible efforts they put in for us was something, you know, nothing short of remarkable. So I think it was overall a bond really between the supporters and the players. Just that 2.5 years was very, very special.
But just as Jimmy McGrory had done half a century earlier, a Kilmarnock manager left for Celtic.
If anything else, it's maybe bonded the club supporters and the board more, closer together, because we see ourselves as being one in this particular case. The only reason why I've continued with it is for the sake of the club. There's no personal benefit associated with any board member in this thing. We feel as if the club has been wronged, and we've been vindicated with that with the decisions of the league and the SFA. The club have been wronged, and it's my responsibility as chairman to make sure that wrong's righted.
John, nice and sharp, come on all the time, man. Forward in that box all the time. Go down. Same as last week, we're looking for 3 points a day again. That's what we're after. Very free, lads.
But the rebirth of the Blues continues under Alex Totten. He inherited a dressing room full of confidence and hunger for more glory. These are qualities he sees as prerequisites for football life at the very top.
Never stop as a manager. When you're preparing all week for one thing a Saturday afternoon, the training, and you're going to games at night, and I've been in England watching players, and you're never satisfied as a manager, because I feel I'm fortunate to be manager of Kilmarnock because it's a big club, a very ambitious club, and obviously delighted to be here. But I want a quality side. I want a side to play very good football, to score goals so that the fans are going to come back week in, week out, follow the team at home, away from home. And I just want a team really that the fans are going to be very proud of, and it's up to me as manager to get the best players that I possibly can.
Ability is clearly not a problem in the team, consistency is, but the manager has set his sights high.
Long term, obviously I'd love to bring a cup here of some sort, whether it's a League Cup, or like say the Scottish Cup, or Europe. I think that would be a big plus, and I think the club is ambitious enough, they want to do well. The fans have been fantastic to the team and to me since I come, and I think the players as well, they're determined, because so far they did my job easy because I've given great commitment not only to myself but to the club. And but long term that's got to be the aim, a cup of some sort, or Europe. If a league comes along that'd be great, but I think this is a very good club, a big club, very ambitious club, and it'd be great to get success here.
Kilmarnock Football Club have been evolving longer than any other senior professional side in the country. But even in that glorious 125 years, there has never been a time when so much has happened off the park in such a stunningly short period. The club knew wilderness years, but they say you can never enjoy the feast until you've lived through the famine.
My ambition has been stated, it's European football that I want to get back into. I want Kilmarnock playing European football, and I want them playing European football on a regular basis. That was my stated ambition. It's still the same. What I'd also like to do is now that we're spending so much money getting the stadium ready, I've got to work very hard to eliminate that debt. So there's a twofold thing there: get into Europe and eliminate debt. One's almost a contradiction of the other, but that's really what we've got to try and do. So the future for Kilmarnock is we've got a new home, is to get back into European football and get back in a solid financial base again.
So will you, the fans, ever see the likes of this again? It won't happen if you don't nurse the dream.
One of my ambitions in actual fact was to be, I must have been about 6 or 7, was to be what they called a tray boy. you know, who used to go around the field shouting, chocolate, tuppence a bar, apples 1 penny.
I think all the strips were a disgrace while I was here, actually. There was a good one. I signed for Killie on the basis we wore blue and white stripes, and I don't think it was until I was away from the club we went back to blue and white stripes, and that's one of my disappointments about being here as well. I don't know who was designing the strips in those days. I think it might have been yourself, Chick, but certainly not the nicest of colours, and I hope that they destroy all the pictures from that era.
I was known as Martha Smith's son. I never had my own name. And in latter days, I was known as Gordon Smith's father.
I didn't understand them all shouting, and they were always singing, "There's only one Bobby Fleeting," and all these different songs. And as we were leaving one day, they were all shouting and chanting, and I misunderstood what they said, and I thought that they were shouting for me, you see. So I was feeling very pleased with myself, and I said to Bobby, "Wasn't that something?" And he said, "What?" And I said, "Don't act like you didn't hear them." And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "You heard them. They were all shouting, 'Give us your wife, Bobby Fleeting.'" And he said, "It was 'Give us a wave.'"
A lot of people ask me why I never moved, you know, at Kilmarnock. I was happy at Kilmarnock, you know. And my wife, she would never have went down to England. I mean, she didn't like English people. So as I say, that was it. I had to stay where I was.
Hughie Brown, a wee winger, whose eyesight faded in the latter part of his career, but he was an excellent footballer too. Billy Muir, left wing, he was as deaf as a door, but he could run. I mean, you just used to get the ball in these days, and it was just pumped up the wing, and he could catch.
So you had a blind wing and a deaf winger?
That's right, and yet we still had success.
When I came here from Johnson Borough, and I was the first player swap deal. I was swapped for the Sheep, Wilbur Sheep, plus £300. We paid £300.
Was there a sheep here? Tell me about
Yeah, there
this.
was a sheep, Wilbur. She was a lovely sheep, especially with lipstick on. You know.
I felt so sorry for the fans and so sorry for the players who let the fans down. No, I could actually choke each and every one of them. No. What was
Why did you go?
You edit that bit?